point, your entire career has really been focused on migrants, on children protection, on helping mothers in whatever state they're in, I mean physically, as well as wherever they are in the world. When I think of Renee's incredible presentation, thank you for that, Renee. That was, I mean, I'm still trying to really sort through just how important it is that people have remittances in order to be able to fulfill their lives. And I love his concept, when we were preparing for this, of the transnational family. The reframing that it's not that there's a family here and that there's a family there, but there are families that live across time and space, and that's a whole, it's not separate things. And I want you to first start by maybe giving us a perspective on your work, and then you have a couple of things you'd like to share as well. Yeah?
Yes, great. No, well, thank you for having me here. And yes, like I all the time said that bringing data to humanize that data. Every number that Renee just shows, it means it's a people, it's persons, human beings. So I will talk about my experience myself. I'm a migrant from Venezuela, and I've been living in Colombia since 18 years ago, and also as the co-founder and leader of an organization that works in the ground, in the field, in the border between Venezuela and Colombia, which is a huge, huge border, 2,600 kilometers. It's like going from Spain to Greece. So just imagine that. Only with a few legal or regular paths to cross the border, but most of the paths are irregular, and we're talking about 800 irregular paths. So that's how the flow goes. And also, it's a pendular flow, which is really different from other flows in the world, because they will go back and forth from one country to another. Also, that happens in Ecuador, or so what we see also is a response from the region that every country will have their own response. So they are not have like the same response. In Colombia, talking about Venezuelan diaspora, it's like the first recipient. They can't close the border. I myself, when all these leaders or presidents will say the border is closed, that's not possible. That it's impossible to cross the border for the people. So we were trying to understand the movement and all this financial things that was happening, and 10 years ago, we founded an NGO called Comparte, sharing, and how we can help Colombia to being able to include these people. So we started working in schools. Why schools? Because you can move, you can start you can migrate or be a refugee, but schools are there. Those institutions are there, and they have to be open, and that was the first thing that Colombia made, like open the schools for the children, and we understand that they were like the safe place. So parents will drop even into the door, not inside the school. So they will leave children there, and they will go to find some money, so they will go back the same day to Venezuela. So we started talking and trying to understand from the offices and the schools and the principals how we can bring these safe spaces for inclusion, how we can bring the belonging sense for the families, so you belong, you can be there. Permanence, which is a really huge gap in Latin America, permanence in school. So we start bringing this model, which is stay in school, as a tool for inclusion. When the parent felt that, maybe we can have yes?
Just a quick show of the slides, please.
So we work with a sense of belonging, permanence, and leadership. It's like bringing the mother.
So the next one.
Yes. And of course, we tried to see the children and the migrant family not only as aid recipients, because it's only temporal assistance, and that won't bring agency, that won't bring inclusion. So we started shifting our intervention, and it's what we were saying, it's like we need to stabilize. I know they have human aid necessities, maybe, but we need to break that way of, for a permanent way of acting. And Latin America is not bringing permanent actions to include families. And that will just, they will bring more poverty to these people.
Next slide. Yep.
Yes. So this is a typical school. And all the children, this was a picture from 2017, which almost 45,000 people were crossing the border between Venezuela and Colombia. 45,000 people, just imagine this number. And they were just arriving there, finding a space for their children. This is just between this school, it's called La Frontera, the border, and it's just 1 kilometer or maybe less from the border, from the Puente Simón Bolívar between Venezuela and Colombia. So how we can understand this driving of people so they want to belong, so they will keep their kids inside and they will wait, mothers will wait like 5 or 6 hours outside the school. So we started working with those mothers, that they are there and they wanted to be part of them. So we bring it inside. How? Being part of the community, being part of the sports day, being part of the feeding school programs, okay? So they started like, I have something to bring to the school, and the school will protect me. So that was amazing. So we do this?
The green one.
Okay, perfect. Also, I think that I would have seen that maybe the financial system will exclude them because they don't have, I don't know, an ID, or they don't have a passport, or they don't have a cell phone because they changed the number, like it's really hard to get them.
But as you said to me, they're very resourceful.
But they are very resourceful. They invest, they plan in an informal way. So this is an important thing because they have a way to conduct their own budget, and they adapt. I think that's so important. So, remittances, as René says, how we bring this data so you understand. We have seen that there are many motivators. First of them is how I show my family that I am okay, even though that I'm not okay. But I have to, like the guilt that I feel that I left my family in the other side, in Venezuela with no hospitals were shut down almost, schools were shut down, only children go to school in Venezuela only 2 days, because there are no teachers, of course. The teachers have migrated. So we have seen something that I'm going to say in Spanish, like es la niñez migrante sola. Okay, and also when we started working 10 years ago with Venezuelan migration, we saw jóvenes cabeza de familia. Now we see niños, and when I say niños, it's under 12, that they are the householders of their family. So they are the ones who are migrating and leaving their parents. And I have this beautiful story of this family that now they are all in Cucuta, but the one that migrated first was JD here. So she was 11 years old, and she crossed the border, and she left her family because her mom was pregnant. So she wanted to stay, and the other children didn't want to go to Colombia. So she migrated, and she went to that school that I showed you, and started begging for being part of the school. So she, finally 2 years later, 13 years old, she was able to get in school. And she was also selling and buying and like recicladores. So she was, yes, recicladores, I think that you got that.
Recyclers.
From trash. So she was recycling trash that would pay her something in the afternoon, and she was sending money to her mom. So this was like 2 years or 3 years thing. Nobody can protect her because she was from Venezuela. She was living in Venezuela, but she was sleeping in some of her friends in Colombia. So she was no protection at all. Her rights wasn't covered at all. But she managed to finish school. She was the first girl who arrived to our model. And right now, JD is like 21 years old. But this is not JD, but and she finally finished her school. Her family moved to Colombia right now. They're all there. They are working in informal works. But now she finished. She's an azafata.
She is a flight
In
stewardess
Avianca?
now, in Avianca.
And she lives in Medellin, and she worked with leaders, and she's a leader of groups of girls in Medellin, migrant girls that want to go into the system. So that's the thing that we want. So if we kept her in school, knowing that in the afternoons she was in a really, she wasn't protected. It was a really high risk of violence. But she understands that school was the place where she needs to be, and that's why we work there. Of course, here our program will go with understanding mental health, which is a huge gap that we need to address, because it's not only managing the migration movement, but also the trauma.
Yeah.
So that's what we were doing.
And so one of the questions that we spoke about was, how do the folks that you're working with handle the frictions of the financial system, of either being out of it or in it? How do they manage, how do they navigate that? And what can banks like ours know and need to know about those very resilient folks that sometimes don't have the access?
So what I say all the time, if this migration, they are orphans of institutions. They come from Venezuela, where it's a breaking tissue of the institutions. So they in Venezuela no tenían cuentas bancarias.
In Venezuela,
they
they
didn't
had
have
no
bank
bank
accounts.
accounts
They
either.
didn't trust in the bank. They didn't have like a lot of money to go into the banks. So when they migrate with those ways to do, like there's something like a pyramid. So they will have like mancomunados. I don't know how to say that in English. So they will arrange so they will bring that, and they don't trust institutions. So also we see ourselves as a bridge from institution into communities. How we bring them like healthy financial systems. And also I was impressed about René's percentage about having a phone. We don't see this in the border in Colombia. They don't have access to a phone. And if they live in Venezuela, they don't have electricity to charge a phone. And when you cross the border, if you have like from one system to another, and everything will go into, when you go into a system or a financial, and you need to prove that it's yourself and all the clearance that a financial institution needs, it will just like send an email or give a phone number. They change the phone number. So we need a new strategy. I know the new bank, we have been working with them to bring some like credits or in a way so they can work in Colombia with Venezuelans. And I know that for a financial, my responsibility here is to bring the human part of the systems. And they will pay, when you go to the microcredits organizations in Venezuela, of Colombia and in the world, they will pay their credits. It's like, for them, it's so important to understand that they are reliable, that they are there and they want to be part of the system. So that's something really, really incredible. So I think that for the financial system, it's like trying to get the people in the field, organizations, and the ones that are led by them, to just bring the system and understanding them and translating. And we need a translation from the top into the ground.
And how can banks like ours better partner with many, many organizations like yours? Because you're one of many, but you're here in a sense representing that sector of people who are the first responders, the first receivers of migrants and the integrators. What do we do to make sure that partnership is seamless?
Well, as I told you, we started working with Nubank 2 years ago. They wanted to have a really good instrument to bring to this community. So first of all, we started working giving some x-rays about these families. We have the data. Of course, we work with data. It's impossible not to do it. So our actions are based on that data. So we bring us into the table, into the conversation. Don't design financial or don't design tools without the people from the ground. We need to be there. We need to be there, and we need to be accountable, of course, to be part of those conversations, but that's on our side. So bring us to the table when you're designing these amazing products so you can really bring it down to the ground. So that would be my advice. We, as an civil society organizations or community-based organizations, we're willing to be with you. We need you. We need you to have these instruments that really work. So that would be let's open the table and bring us into the designing. And I must say that I was so, it brought me hope when Tom asked me to come here. I didn't know that this alliance existed. So it brings me hope there are financial people with all these conversations and data and talking about money, but in a different way. So it brings me hope. So let's bring it to the table. I'm more than open to connect you with a huge ecosystem in Latin America. I'm part of the Ashoka Fellows, a part of Acumen Fellows. So it's not only bring me to the table, but bring us to the table, to the conversation. So that will be an amazing way to start.
Fantastic. And last question for you is, what is our most urgent need? What is our call as we end this session? What is your true sense of what is essentially needed at this moment in time in history?
Well, I think we need to understand, as I said, that every number, it's a life. That human mobility, migration, or refugees won't stop. We can't stop. And I know that we need to work with the country that are throwing them out, which is really hard, of course, but also being a host. I don't like the word host community, because being a host, it's a big thing. So receptors, we need to have and understand that they are going to be part of our communities, of our life, and we need the whole system to work on a policy that receives them, and also we need to articulate all actors into a same response. Latin America, for example, it's like doing their ways, also financial system. It would be amazing if we can have one way to the same way to understand financial system of the. So my word will say let's articulate together the response for receiving migrants and human mobility, because it won't stop. I think it's a right. It's a right in a huge point of view. It's a right, and we are all migrants in a way, and our families, and that's how the world just existed, no?
Yeah. Thank you, Lala, for bringing first your lived experience, and then translating that lived experience into real action, real work that is both transnational as well as very local. And I'm so impressed that you find these ways into communities, through schools, through mothers waiting for schools, and at the same time you're collecting data it's a big piece of work, and you've been doing this for 17 years. Incredible.
No, thank you.
so much.
And as I see, we are a social incubator, so let's bring the financial system into that incubator. Though that's how we see schools, social incubator for inclusion. So you're more than welcome to be there. We need you.
Thank you so much, Lala Lovera.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.